There's no great mystery about what's going on here. Donald Trump is weaker than he's ever been. The American people are angrier at him than they've ever been. And so Donald Trump is taking his most drastic step yet to inject chaos into our next election. My first guest tonight is already demanding an investigation and demanding answers. Joining me now is Senator Mark Warner, Vice Chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator Warner, I just want to start. You have followed election integrity. You have led investigations for so many years. I just tried to give my best assessment there. It feels like a five-alarm fire here. But I tried to outline Tulsi Gabbard's new assignment. But what do you think is going on here? What should people watching understand?
Well, Jen, unfortunately, you may have actually understated the threat. So as somebody who led the bipartisan investigation into the Russia intervention in our 2016 election, I've been on this topic for years. And let me surprise your viewers on my first comment. The first Trump administration actually did a pretty damn good job in making the 2020 election safe. They created a foreign malign influence center. They had the cybersecurity agency work with states, and many Trump officials, I remember Chris Krebs, the head of CISA, got fired for telling the truth that the 2020 election was safe and secure. You've made the point, which is absolutely true. Donald Trump is obsessed about the fact that he lost Georgia, he lost the election. We're 5 years forward, and his obsession about this is now wreaking incredible havoc. Let's go through a couple of the facts. First, the attack or search warrant that was launched against the election officials in Fulton County. Let's look at the facts. One, the FBI official who was head of the Atlanta Bureau, a career professional, somehow has been fired or retired unofficially. Why? My sense is probably because he didn't think this was on the level. Secondly, when you offer or bring a case to get a search warrant, normally the U.S. attorney that would bring that case is the U.S. attorney from Georgia. The person who signed this document was actually the U.S. attorney from Missouri, who you pointed out earlier was a henchman of all these wacky election denial stories. So we've got this effort that doesn't pass the smell test on the front end of bringing this case against the election officials in Georgia. Secondly, then you've got the question of Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, who I voted strongly against. I warned my Republican colleagues she was not competent for this job. She has proven that incompetence time and again. And now you've got her showing up here, as you said, with the baseball cap, looking like out of a bad spy movie. Tulsi Gabbard has no responsibility for domestic investigations. Her job is to look at foreign intelligence interference. And here's the part, Jen, that I hope we spend some more time on. The very structure that the first Trump administration set up about foreign malign influence, they did a good job of setting up a center. In her first year as DNI, she has dismantled that center, saying there is no threat of foreign malign influence. Suddenly, at the 11th hour, she shows up in this very inappropriate search warrant, at least on the appearance of inappropriate, and is showing up, as you pointed out, in the Wall Street Journal, not exactly a liberal publication, has said this is a pathetic person basically trying to curry favor with her boss. Because I can tell you, as a vice chair and former chair of the Intelligence Committee, usually the director of national intelligence briefs you on these serious international matters. She's been nowhere on Venezuela, nowhere on Iran, nowhere on Trump trying to threaten NATO. And so this effort to try to curry favor is really frightening. And you layer on top of that, and this is how all of these things interconnect, one of the reasons why we have to make sure that we get some guardrails on ICE, and this is not going far afield, is what I fear beyond the potential for Trump to try to interfere in a major way in our elections is one of the biggest ways he could interfere is by having these roving ICE bands show up at polling stations, and not just in the fall at primary polling stations. We in Virginia may try to change our maps to deal with redistricting. They show up there. That would chase away lots of potential voters. So this, and I have to acknowledge, at the first couple of months of Trump 2, I was not sure they would be this devious in terms of potential election integrity. I am now a all in, and we all, I hope, again, regardless of party, the basics of our democracy is based on the integrity of our elections. And I do believe there are some, Tulsi Gabbard being one, trying to interfere and in many ways intimidate. And the whole notion, as you pointed out, and this is just beyond bizarre, where they're talking about the Italians and satellites and Venezuela and this whole effort to try to change the 2020 elections, which has been investigated time and again, is beyond crazy, beyond kind of laughable, but it's something that all Americans, regardless of partisan affiliation, should be concerned about.
Let me ask you about what to prepare for, because you spend a lot of time thinking about this, and it's hard for me to imagine that this is the only set of election data they are going to try to acquire through this BS warning process and through using the FBI in a completely inappropriate way. Are you preparing for them to try to seize other data? And the Wall Street Journal also referenced executive orders. Sorry, I have another part of this. Executive orders. What are you preparing for in that regard? So just as you think about this, with all of your experience, what should we be bracing ourselves for here?
Well, one, we'd have a heck of a lot easier time if we could find some Republicans with spine who would stand up and say, this is about basic tenets of American democracy. Yeah. We've seen some of that around ICE now, but if we could see a repeat of that. Two, and this is like the thing I've got to wrap my mind around, back in 2018, 2019, 2020, one of the things that the federal government, led at that point by Donald Trump, said, how do we help states improve their election security? I now have to worry about a corrupted Department of Justice. I have to worry about an FBI run by Kash Patel. I have to worry about a cybersecurity agency that used to be very helpful. I don't know whether we should actually encourage that federal help because it may be politically biased. It may undermine the very integrity we were trying to sort through. I know there are a group of people across many domains who are trying to look about, what do we do after the fact if governors don't certify elections? What my job is, and others, is to say, how do we make sure we're prepared ahead of time? How do we make sure that if there is foreign malign influence, and now with the tools of artificial intelligence, it's much easier, that we're prepared for that? How do we make sure that those assistants to our state and local officials who do the hard job of protecting our elections, and the fact that we're decentralized makes it safer? How do we make sure they have the current support, particularly in red states, that if there are these kind of outrageous actions, again, I go back to this search in Atlanta that's been litigated many times, coming from where at least it appears that the FBI agent in charge quit rather than be part of this or got fired, and the fact that the whole case is driven by not a U.S. attorney in Georgia, but out of Missouri. We got to get our stuff together, not just as representatives at the federal level, but we really need partners at the state and local level. And I think, again, about the Georgia Secretary of State, who I think is now running for governor on the Republican side, who had the courage to stand up. This may be a time where, it's not just call your congressman and your senator, and you got to do that, but state and local officials need to stand up for the integrity of our elections as well. And we got to get ready, and we can't just focus entirely on the elections this year in November, but we've got primaries before that time. This goes to the heart of soul of who we are as Americans.
Senator Mark Warner, I hope you'll come back and keep talking with me about this, because I think this is one of the most important stories for us to watch and be clear-eyed about this year. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, Jen, thank you. Just again, at the end of the day, this isn't about D's and R's. This is about whether our country is going to remain a functioning democracy where Americans can trust the results of our elections. We owe it to everybody that we get this right.
No question about it. Thank you so much again.